Okay. Good morning. I'm sure it's afternoon somewhere. I wanted to come on here. I got up this morning and the week is wrapping up. We're moving into Shabbat. My hands are extremely ashy. We're moving into the Shabbat, and I wanted to kind of like encourage everyone in something that has been really, really impactful for me in trying to keep pace, in trying to make sure that I am staying on track and keeping track of how I said I wanted to live and move and kind of function over, this year and kind of moving forward continually. And so I titled this little blurb, and aka the sign of life, as being gentle and trying softer, or living softer. And I've seen that go around. It's kind of like everything's like a catchy thing, living the soft life. And I'm like, man, soft, plush, whatever you want to call it. Be gentle with yourself, be gentle with others. And so I want to kind of tell you some of the things that I've been doing just recently as I've been transitioning into different spaces, into different phases of my life, into restoration and renewal, and ways that I have been putting into practice, not returning into patterns internally. It's sometimes it's easier to not do the same things externally, but the way we talk to ourselves, the way we treat ourselves, the way we communicate with others, and the kind of pressures that we put on ourselves are so severely important to maintaining a life that is soft, and a life that is the one that is that life, and that life more abundant that's spoken about in scripture. So I'll give you my two main things. Every day, and it has alleviated, I'm serious, like 99% of any anxiety that I've probably ever experienced in my whole entire life, because I'm a person that's very, very hypercritical of myself, which is something that I've been working on over the past few years. Whether you know it or not, I can put it out there because it's important. I have a huge issue with people viewing me negatively. Being misunderstood, how I'm perceived in the world, am I maintaining and meeting my goals? Like those things really used to get me down. I used to go bananas over all kind of things. Oh my gosh, I gained 10 pounds. I can't be on camera. Oh my gosh, I can't go out in public. Oh, this person, and I need to resolve that. All of these things, these additional pressures were in my head. And so when I would go throughout the day, I would not only have the normal tasks that everybody else has, but on top of that, I would have this mental battle that I would have to overcome with my own self-perception, with how people viewed me, how I was supposed to move in the world. Was I doing enough of this? Did I spend enough time doing this? And I mean, that would be my first, when I woke up, my mind would just run through all of those things. And in reality, it's vanity, and it's not in any way, it's nothingness compared to what we're supposed to be doing and how we're supposed to be moving for the kingdom. All right, so my two things, I want to give some background. First thing is, every morning, of course, begin your morning in prayer, acknowledging the Most High and Him waking you up and, allowing you another opportunity to get yourself into alignment with Him. That's par for the course. That's not my number one. That's a guaranteed. But the number one thing is, I go to myself and I'm okay, everything that needs to get done today will get done today. I mean, that cuts 50% of the anxiety. Everything that needs to get done today will get done today. And I say need because there are days when we don't get everything done that we thought we should have gotten done, or that we put on our list to get done, or that we felt like was important. I don't believe that days happen happenstance. Sometimes things come up, sometimes things get interrupted, sometimes things fall through. And when you're doing your best to make sure that you are maintaining your life in accordance with the Most High, and that you're following through with your job and you're a proper representation of the kingdom in the best way you know how, at the end of the day, everything that needed to get done got done. Even if there were things that didn't need to get done, guess what? Either those things can wait, or those things weren't as important as we would have liked them to be in our lives. That is important, because there are so many things that we put on, levels of importance, and we sit back and we think about it, especially as, we get older, and especially those who are more seasoned in life. That some of the things that you fretted about in your teens and in your 20s and, in your 30s or in your 40s, those things are very futile and unimportant as you begin to look at the scope of life. How we look to other people, how we present, how this is this. And all of these things are very small when we start to put them into the larger picture of things. And so it has been encouraging for me to myself to really be like, yeah, if it was supposed to get done and it was in your will, then give me the strength to do it. If not, you know what? Some things are a simple email. I had some things kind of fall through this week. Other things kind of got in the way. And I was just like, you know what? I said I would do this at this time, but I've realized that blah, 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 blah. And this is when I can manage to do that. And you know what? People are a lot more accommodating when we communicate than when we don't. And I've realized that that is also a key when we communicate with ourselves, the expectations that we have for ourselves, and when we communicate with others, how they can manage the expectations that they have of us. Say that again. When we can communicate with others so they can manage the expectations that they have of us. A lot of times people have expectations of us and we try to meet those expectations, although those expectations may be severely unrealistic for our lives at that present time, for what we are intending to accomplish when it comes to our mental and emotional health as we're trying to readjust to the world and the pace that it's moving at, etc. So very, very, very important. The second thing, and I think this is probably, these things are not necessarily in order of in priority, because I feel like the second one is even more important than the first one, even though I lead with the first one. And the second one is that I only walk through doors that Yah has opened. If you're anything like myself, where you have things that you're probably good at, you probably have multiple things you're good at, you probably have multiple passions, it's necessary to manage what Yah has for me right now. And I come out of a season last year of being in a space where I wanted to kind of like move through and push through some things. And the most important thing on my plate at that present time was literally realigning with the Creator, realigning with the authenticity of who I was, and realigning with what I was supposed to be doing in an overall holistic sense. And that didn't seem like it was in alignment with my larger goals. And so I have the tendency in life to be able to kind of push through spaces. Like, oh, okay, this is, even if it's not pushed through in like just boom. No, but like literally saying, okay, I said I was going to do this. I'm going to do this. And it doesn't matter if it's affecting my mental health. Doesn't matter if it's affecting the people around me. I've set a goal. I have something that I have to accomplish because I have this next thing that I need to do. And all of these things seem equally as important. And so what I've learned over this last, 2 years to do is saying, you know what? Yeah, give me closed doors. So the second one is give me closed doors, because too many open doors can be a distraction. And for those of you who have opportunities in life and have a lot of things coming at you at the same time, literally pray for the closed doors. The closed doors are essential to remaining in the will of Yah, because not every open door is a door opened by Yah. We can open doors on our own. We go searching around and looking and, opening things, and those things can be distractions. Those things can shift us away from what his focal point is. And while they may be good and functional for what we want our intended outcome to be, we have to make sure that we're working toward his expected end. Super, super, super important. All right, so those are my two main ones, and I wanted to share that because the second one is the hardest thing to pray for, because sometimes we don't want Yah to close doors. We don't want Yah to allow certain things to happen, or to put us through certain things, or teach us certain lessons so that we can get on the other side. And what I've realized is that those closed doors and those lessons behind it is where my will and Yah's will are divergent, where they're going in two different directions. And sometimes I don't see it because we're human. And if it's like, oh, but I'm qualified for this, and this is what it is, and I can do this, and X, Y, and Z, then it seems like it's a proper opportunity, but that's processed through the secular, carnal mind of like, okay, this aligns here, but there may be something bigger. There may be something different. There may be something other that's expected, and we have to make sure that we're in alignment with that. And I realize that a lot of time lost, and that's a huge thing that none of us want to experience. A lot of time lost is based in pushing through or pushing into spaces where the enemy has opened the door and there are people there to devour you. I've been there. I know what it feels like for the Most High to say, okay, right here, slow down, slow it down. And I'm like, but things are still moving. How do I stop? This train seems that, and he's like, if you don't allow me to slow it down, it's going to slow down anyways. So that's super, super important. And I want to encourage you all, because it's difficult a lot of times when you are in spaces, when you're surrounded by people who are not personally in tune, and they're not doing, and I hate to use this term, but the work. So their perceptions and the way that they view the world is very much from a trauma responsive space, where they are clinging to things, or they only have a one-dimensional view. And sometimes things can just be a lot more practical. And that is where I am. I realize that some of the most important knowledge is the practical knowledge. Some of the most important things are the things that we can practice on a day-to-day basis. And some of the most important encouragement are things that a person can immediately begin to do and see results. Sometimes we set off with these lofty things, and when we stumble along the way because we have not learned how to fail forward, that when we stumble along the way, we stop and we break down and we think the process isn't working. A lot of people have gotten to that space, in my opinion, when it comes to Torah. When it comes to Torah, you've reached a point where you're so afraid to move forward because you're seeking perfection in yourself, and you don't realize that it's a process of perfecting. And in each step and in each part of it, you're learning and you're moving forward. And a lot of people are just completely shutting down because of the external pressures, because of the people who are putting burdens or putting up false images of what this journey to live in alignment and to walk circumspect with the Creator looks like. It's not a journey of outward things. It's not a journey of speaking about what we're doing inwardly, but it's a journey of learning how to constantly return, constantly go into a space where we put our salvation of the Creator. We're doing a series on Patreon, and those I've decided, and I'm going to discuss with the group, because it's content that is curated for that space. But I recently did something, we're doing the series on Purge Me. And in that series, we got to I think we're like in the third or fourth stage. And it's the stage of maintaining. It's the stage of maintaining. We start off with, being called, because we know we have a responsibility. We feel this inner thing. Then it's, choosing to be chosen, responding to the call. And then there's the idea of understanding what that means and how we're supposed to operate in it. But then there's the maintenance. And the maintenance of something is the long term. It's the long term place. And I talked to them about the idea of like video games and checkpoints, or a safe space where you can always return back to. And that space of maintenance is not like this idea of just keep going, just keep maintaining. No, the space of maintenance actually deals with what you do. Like when you get a car serviced. When you have a car, you go to a designated place, and that designated place has checkpoints that give you alerts like, hey, service A is needed. Hey, service B is needed. You need a tune-up. You need a full, that is where our journey should be. If you don't think you ever have to stop at the pit stop and get those tires changed, get that oil changed, get that transmission fluid checked, get a full, 10-point service checkup, If you don't think that you ever have to do that on your journey, and you see those checkups, or you see when you go over the mileage for your oil change, you see that as a failure, then guess what? You'll be so embarrassed by how far you went over the oil change that you'll never take the car in, and then you'll just ruin the whole vehicle. A lot of people treat their souls and their relationship with their creator like that, because other people are forcing you to keep washing the outside of the car and shining the rims and going and getting the things on the outside done, and you're afraid to let somebody look in the hood, look under the hood, specifically Yah, because you've been told that if Yah looks under the hood and finds deficiency, that then there's punishment. But if you go to the car dealer, I guess you go and you take your car and they say, "Ooh, I'm so glad you came in. If you had gone 20 more miles, this would have happened and this would have happened and this was loose. I'm so glad you're here. Let me get you going. Let me get you right." Maybe that moment is humbling, but guess what? You've preserved the whole vehicle. Stop letting people keep you from servicing your vehicle, your body, your mind before Yah, because they keep telling you, "Oh, don't go in. Just pray over the over mileage. Just pray over the." No, go to Yah. Ask him to take some things off of your plate in prayer, and then ask to have people and to have practical things around you that you can do every single day to make sure that those things stay in maintenance. People want you to come to them, but they don't have the answers, and they're not seeing you like Yah sees you. That is so important for people. A lot of people exist in the cyberspace world, and I realize that that is the space that we have to operate in right now. But having the opportunity to be in the presence of people that know you and understand you and can surround you in your journey is so important, and not based upon their own agenda, but literally seeing you how the creator sees you. I want you today to pray that Yah sends you people that see you the way that he sees you. That's so very important, because when you get into moments when you are beside yourself, it's not for people to look at you how you are in that moment, but to remind you of who you're supposed to be moving forward and what Yah has spoke into their hearts and into your heart about you. You need to find people that agree with the expected outcome for your life and push you toward that, and don't get so caught up in the moments of your life that they keep you stuck and stifled in one place. That's very, very important. And another thing, don't despise the people that can't see you. Everybody's not for you. Everybody's not allowed to see who you're supposed to be. Guess what? Because if they saw who you were supposed to be, they would destroy you at the gate. They would sit at the birthing stool and abort your future, because they don't want to see that version of you manifest, and specifically the adversary in them, that's working in them, doesn't want to see the version of you that Yah created for such a time that is coming or that is here for you. And so they'll try to stop it, or try to keep you wrapped up in your past, not moving forward freely. And I always, when I come on here and I do these check-ins, I always say, I want this for you. Like I do, I really do. I really, really do, because I realize that there's a power in Torah, and there's a power when we begin to actualize and we bring the uniqueness of our being here. Like literally, you and only you have what it takes to be you and to impact the world the way you are supposed to. And that is something that you have to know, that literally every single thing that you've been through, good, bad, right, wrong, up, down, and different, is necessary to impact the world, especially as it's changing in this present moment. You would think that your experiences were so foreign, but it's your testimony and your overcoming and your ability to provide a pathway of healing, because you have trusted Yah, that is going to literally revive the next generation. Says that the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. The laborers go out with knowledge of what it means to labor in the field. The laborers go out to the field because they know the fields, and they're able to reap and harvest from the fields. A lot of people are trying to reap and harvest from amongst people who have already been gathered in. There are people out there who are waiting for you to heal, who are waiting for you to walk, for waiting for you to stumble and fall and rise up and win, so that they can know that I can take myself in all of my raggediness to that same creator. And if he can do it with her, then he can do it with me, and he can do it for my family, and he can do it for my children, because he's still faithful and he's still steadfast. And the stories that I hear are not just in the scripture, where people have had to overcome or have gone through tough things. They didn't just stop with David. These people walking around here telling you and showing you this image of perfection online, they're lying. They're lying. They're lying. They are literally in the same boat as everybody else, and in a lot of ways worse, because they've allowed themselves to be convinced based upon what they experience in the metaverse that they don't no longer need help. Well, guess what? There's some of us around here that still do. And there's some of us around here that are still doing it and are still working. And Yah is still restoring. And Yah is creating Goshens of peace amongst us, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And I want you to know that that is possible. I want you to know that it's not all negative. That when it happens in the world and the cares of the world seem to come in like a flood, that Yah has set up barriers around you, and you only have to get to the maintenance space where he can restore you and show you how he's working things out for your good. And he's doing it because you've been called, you've responded to the call, and you're willing to continue to walk before him. So very important. I want you to be encouraged today. I took up 21 minutes and 20 seconds of your time, and I really appreciate you guys hanging out. I really appreciate you being in this space. I really am excited to continue, as Yah gives me space to share in this space. And to let you know that it's okay. You're doing all right. You're doing an amazing job, actually. And nobody told you, and I'm like specifically, like I tell you all the time, when I get behind here, it's difficult for me to get behind here like other people do, because I feel the draw. I feel the exchange back and forth. And if you're listening to this and you don't feel like you're doing a good job, and you don't feel like you're doing enough, you are. Stay right where you are. Continue to do what you're doing. Move only at the deployment of Yah. Literally, like Yah sees you, Yah hears, and he's just making sure that everything is aligned, so that when it's your time and when it's your season, you can reap bountifully from the labor, and you can eat the fruit of your hands, and it doesn't fall to the ground and go to the waste. And on top of that, you will have enough to share, and enough to give, and enough to store, so that when you enter into the next season where you feel like it's lean, you'll understand that it's a time of growth. It's a time of roots going deeper, because baby, you're not a weed. You're a fruit-bearing tree, bearing after the kind of the seed that's put into you. And sometimes the roots have to go deep before the tree can put on fruit. Stay diligent, stay steadfast, and literally, I love you. Shalom.